You are surrounded by people right now. Maybe not this exact second, but today you passed strangers on the street, scrolled through the lives of hundreds of people you sort of know, sat in a room full of bodies, heard voices, saw faces. You were not alone, and yet something in you felt completely, utterly alone. That feeling has a name, and the real reason behind it is far stranger than you think. Loneliness is not about being by yourself. That is the first thing most people get wrong. Solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. You can be alone on a mountain trail and feel completely at peace. You can be at a party, surrounded by laughter, and feel like you are watching everything through glass. The difference is not the number of people. It is something much older. Something your body was built for long before cities existed. Your brain is a social organ, not metaphorically. Literally. The human brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years specifically to track other people, to read their faces, to predict their intentions, to calculate where you stand within a group. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent more than 2 decades studying loneliness, and what he found was not what most people expected. Loneliness is not an emotion. It is a biological signal, like hunger, like pain. It is your nervous system telling you that something critical is missing. Think about what hunger does. It does not politely suggest you might want a snack. It floods your body with discomfort. It makes food impossible to ignore. It pulls your attention away from everything else until you eat. Loneliness works the same way. When your brain detects a lack of meaningful social connection, it triggers a threat response. Your cortisol levels rise. Your body enters a low-grade state of alert. You become more vigilant, more defensive, more sensitized to potential rejection. Because for your ancestors, being cut off from the group was not just uncomfortable. It was a death sentence. Imagine your ancestors standing on the edge of the savannah 100,000 years ago. No group means no protection, no shared fire, no one to watch while you sleep, no one to help carry the kill. Isolation was not loneliness in the modern sense. It was exposure. It was the beginning of the end, so your body evolved to make sure that never happened. It built an alarm system, and that alarm is loneliness. The burning, aching, restless signal that says, you need to find your people, you need to reconnect. Now, the problem is that alarm was designed for a world that no longer exists. A world where the group was small, where you knew everyone by name, by face, by the sound of their footsteps in the dark. A world where connection was physical and immediate, where you could reach out and touch the person beside you. Your brain did not evolve for cities of 10 million people. It did not evolve for social media followers or comment sections or video calls. It evolved for somewhere between 50 and 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar calculated that number by studying the relationship between brain size and social group size across primates. The human neocortex, the part of your brain that handles complex social reasoning, can comfortably maintain genuine relationships with roughly 150 individuals. That is it. That is the ceiling. Beyond that, the connections become thin, symbolic, hollow. Now look at your life. You may have 800 followers. You may have a phone full of contacts. You may live in a building with 200 other people whose faces you recognize in the elevator, but whose names you will never know. The sheer volume of human presence around you can make you feel like connection is everywhere. But your brain is not measuring quantity. It is measuring depth. It is asking a different question entirely. Not how many people are there, but who actually sees you. Who knows what you are afraid of? Who would notice if you disappeared? And if the answer to that question is unclear, the alarm goes off. Researcher Julian Holt-Lunstad conducted a landmark meta-analysis pulling together data from 148 studies and more than 300,000 people. What she found stopped the scientific community. Loneliness increases your risk of early death by 26%, social isolation by 29%, living alone by 32%. Those numbers are comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. They exceed the mortality risk of obesity. Your body treats a lack of social connection as a physical threat, because for most of human history, it was. And here is where it gets even stranger. Loneliness changes how you see the world. This is not poetic language. It is neuroscience. When Cacioppo and his team put chronically lonely people in brain scanners and showed them images of social situations, the lonely brain showed heightened activity in threat detection regions. The same parts of the brain that fire when you see a predator. when you sense danger. Loneliness does not just feel bad. It makes you interpret the world around you as more hostile than it is. You start to see indifference as rejection. You start to see neutral faces as unfriendly. You start to pull back to protect yourself, to disengage. And in doing so, you become harder to reach, more isolated, more alone. The biology of loneliness feeds itself. This is why you can feel lonely in a city of millions. It is not that connection is unavailable. It is that your threat-sensitized brain has made genuine connection feel dangerous. Your nervous system is saying reach out, you need people, while simultaneously saying be careful, they might hurt you. You are caught between two ancient signals pulling in opposite directions. The hunger for connection and the fear of what happens when you try. Modern life has also done something your nervous system was never designed for. It has created the illusion of connection. The like on your photo, the comment thread, the text that says, hey, been thinking of you, without ever leading anywhere. These fragments of social contact are just real enough to quiet the alarm for a moment, but they do not satisfy what the alarm is actually asking for. They are the equivalent of looking at a picture of food when you are starving. The brain recognizes the shape of connection. It does not receive it. Psychologist Sherry Turkle spent years studying how technology changes human relationships, and she described a phenomenon she called being alone together. A room full of people, each looking at a screen, each technically in contact with dozens of others, each fundamentally alone. You have felt this. You have sat in a room with people and felt the silence between you expanding even as the notifications kept coming. The noise was there. The presence was there. The connection was not. The research on what actually resolves loneliness is consistent and perhaps counterintuitive. It is not more contact. It is more quality. One conversation where you feel genuinely heard does more for your nervous system than 100 interactions that skim the surface. Eye contact matters. Physical proximity matters. The sense that the other person is actually present with you, not performing presence while thinking about something else. These are the signals your ancient brain is scanning for. The ones it has been scanning for since before language existed. There is a particular kind of loneliness that is specific to modern life, and it is not being talked about enough. It is the loneliness of being known superficially by many people and deeply by almost no one, of having a full calendar and an empty feeling, of being visible and unseen at the same time. This is not a personal failure. It is an architectural problem. The structures of modern life, the way cities are designed, the way work is organized, the pace at which everything moves, they are not built for the kind of slow, repeated, low-stakes contact that human relationships actually require to form. Psychologist John Gottman found that closeness is built not through grand moments, but through small, consistent moments of attunement. The quiet check-in, the remembered detail, the moment where someone shows you they were paying attention. Those moments require time, and time is the thing modern life most aggressively removes. You were not built for this. Not for the scale of it, not for the speed of it, not for the sheer volume of half-connections and digital proximity and rooms full of strangers you are expected to call community. Your nervous system is running ancient software on a completely new world, and the mismatch is the ache you feel. But here is the strange comfort buried inside all of this. That feeling you carry, that persistent low hum of not quite belonging, of being somehow apart even in the middle of everything, it is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something is right. It means your brain is working exactly as it was designed to work. It is correctly identifying that the connection you have is not the connection you need. The alarm is functioning. The signal is accurate. You are lonely because you were built for something real. And real is still possible. Tonight, when you scroll through the faces of people you barely know, looking for something you cannot quite name, remember what you are actually looking for. Not more faces, not more noise. You are looking for the thing your ancestor found around a fire 100,000 years ago, someone who saw them and stayed. That is still what you are looking for. And the reason it feels so urgent is because, for your nervous system, it always has been.